What's going on, guys? And
What's up?
welcome
What's up?
to another episode, another pretentious review from Pretentious
Pop.
Culture.
Ooh,
Of course, we got a great
clean.
show for you today. Marvel is back. We got What If from Disney Plus, episode 1. And of course, I am Justin, the Culture Coyote, joined by the Disney Grizzly, Lucas. And if you like this content, if you want more pretentious reviews, you can please subscribe to our channel here on YouTube and TikTok as well. And if you like keeping up with the news and pop culture, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. All links in the description, and as well as our partner channels, Adventures by Ables and In the Bat Loop on Instagram and YouTube. And please remember to leave a like on this video. And if you want you want to support us even further, you can go to jakesdesignsrw.com to find the Culture Coyote and Disney Grizzly t-shirt, and also other great unique clothing design choices for you there. Anyway, I have a feeling there's not a lot of news going on over the weekend, but I did know there is a rumor I got to address that the main character in this episode is going to appear in the Doctor Strange movie. Don't know if it's true.
It was confirmed, I thought.
I mean, I looked it up. I could not find the article. So,
Isn't she on the cast list, though?
as good as mine.
I thought I saw that she was on the cast list.
IMDb is not a. It's not like a very set thing, so I'm not sure. Anything else going on, Lucas?
Not that I can really think of. The Venom release date got moved back. That was actually something. Yeah, it went from September to October now.
Yeah, it went to the second week of October, and that just goes to like, of course, we're not getting that Spider-Man trailer anytime soon if they're doing this stuff. No Way Home trailer.
I don't think we're going to get a trailer for No Way Home at all. I think they're just going to keep it concealed and then finally just give us the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, good marketing, honestly.
I think we'll get Half-Life 3 and The Elder Scrolls 6 before we get Spider-Man No Way Home trailer.
That'd be the dream.
It feels like we've waited longer for this. But also non-Marvel related news. We did get a sequel. We need to put it back on this channel, but we did a review for Cruella earlier in the year, and I have to eat my words because I was saying
There's another one, baby.
They're not gonna make a sequel. This is dumb. And granted, if they go the route that our best friend Alex was saying, I'm gonna be a little upset unless they really pull a rabbit out of a hat and do something really creative. And he was suggesting that the sequel is gonna have her go full evil, and I don't see it like with the character in that movie. And
she became too much of she became too much of an anti-hero.
Lucas and Alex,
most things.
Yeah,
she became too much like an anti-hero. Yeah, I don't like it.
That fits the story they were trying to tell. It wouldn't fit the story for this character.
For 101 Dalmatians, like the actual movie, like the Cruella that we see in those movies.
No. I think that's where they're headed because this is how you build a franchise. You build up the hype.
She better watch herself though, because she was also dabbling with the whole suing Disney aspect that also came out. She was like weighing her options for the suing of Disney because of the whole streaming versus like movie release in theaters money to be made. That same thing Scarlett Johansson just did. And now Scarlett Johansson's got axed from all Disney projects. The Tower of Terror movie that she was making and she was starring in, she got axed from that.
Yeah.
So if she decides to sue Disney because of the money that she didn't make off the movie, I guess, because of box office sales, then they'll have no problem with recasting somebody else as Cruella, in my opinion. Like Disney doesn't care.
It depends on how her contract was structured, and she might have already been contracted for this movie. They just didn't announce it yet, the sequel. So there was probably like, okay, when you sign on to Disney, you're going to make a certain amount of money, and then if we get to this threshold, you're automatically contracted for the next project. Um, they do that all the time, so I don't know. We also got confirmation in Star Wars news that Sabine from Rebels is going to
Be in
appear
the Ahsoka
in the
series.
Ahsoka series. I'm more excited for that than any other Star Wars project because I love I was not the biggest fan of Clone Wars, but I did enjoy a lot of it, and most of it has to do with Ahsoka. And I loved
They
that
seem
they
to be
kept
bringing all the
Rosario.
good aspects from all the animated series into the live action shows now, like the dark saber and the lore behind the dark saber for Mandalorian, and what more they could do. They brought Ahsoka in through Mandalorian, so they started like pulling in pieces from the animated Clone Wars series to like be like, hey guys, this is canon, so let's cement it as canon. But it seems like the Ahsoka series is literally taking everything that was good about those series and bringing it into live action fold. Like we have Grand Admiral Thrawn now. We have
Yeah,
Ezra. We
slow
have
rollout.
Ezra,
Yeah.
and we have Sabine.
So
So who else? They have a whole plethora of people that they can choose from that they could still bring in.
well, they brought in Bo-Katan from Clone Wars with the
Exactly.
same voice actor, and is Ezra Bridger, has he been cast with the guy from Aladdin like everybody wants?
Yeah, no, it's
Is that
confirmed.
absolutely
Nessa.
confirmed? Awesome.
Yeah, because also Mickelson's been confirmed for Thrawn as
Praise
well.
be, praise be to Allah, right? Because like the doggone man, that guy is gonna nail that role. Like he was born to play Ezra. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be the
I want to
toxic
see a
Star Wars
darker
fans
Ezra
hate.
though, because like Ezra was already dabbling in the dark side of the Force when he was like not training with Maul, but Maul was like guiding him through like things. I don't know how far you gotten into Rebels yet, or if you finished it, but
Second season. I took a break. I was gonna bring the Star Wars hype back out when we get closer to Book of Boba Fett. I
true,
don't know if I'm
true.
gonna. I suppose we'll probably do some more Disney Plus content with Visions, but I'm not. I can
I'm
tell you
definitely
that
want to
I'm
do it with
not.
Visions. I'm gonna push for Visions because that looks amazing to me.
Well, I'll definitely. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'll watch it, but it's not exciting me at all because it's not. It's kind of like this, and we'll talk about this in a sense where. Obviously, we're talking about what if.
Well, this is
Disney
canon.
Plus.
This is canon. Vision's
Right,
just
right,
different.
right.
It's like the Animatrix where they just took
Yeah,
pieces from
yeah. That
a story.
sort of excites me, but like I've seen so much animated Star Wars stuff at this point, and yeah.
I mean,
Anyway,
Star Wars works well in the animated universe, in my opinion. There's so much more you can do with stuff that's animated than live action.
I like. Well, let's move on because
It's
we'll be
also
talking.
conveying into this because this is also animation,
Yeah.
and
So
I was,
so
yeah,
let's this right here. What if? Um. First off, episode one. It's like what if Peggy Carter became Captain Carter? Basically, is the premise, right, Lucas? So it's we're going way back to Captain America: The First Avenger, which is my least favorite of the Marvel, all 25 or however many. It's my least favorite,
oof,
but
not mine, but all right, let's go.
it's kind of boring to me, and because like Steve Rogers throughout that movie, the point of his character is that he doesn't need a character arc. He's already the person he's supposed to be at the beginning of the movie because he's the guy who is always bullied, and then he gets, you know, he doesn't really change as a, emotional character. He changes physically, and the physical version of him matches the best parts of him, and they
Oh yeah,
that's the interesting part. But he doesn't. He is the same person. He is Steve Rogers at the beginning, and he is Steve Rogers at the end. He hasn't really gone through a journey of changing
I mean,
to
if
an
you think
extent.
about it, they actually explain it in the movie that way. What is it? the scientist doctor explains it. It's like, do you want
No,
like
no,
you can be a good man or you can be
that's
a
the point.
yeah.
You can be don't be not just a good soldier, but a good man. That's the point of the movie, but it's not as interesting as say watching a D-bag like Doctor Strange get his butt handed to him based on his own hubris, and then have to, you know, rediscover himself, re-examine his life, and then change
I
into
like a good black and white story of good versus
um
evil, and that's what Captain
yeah.
America: First Avenger was for me.
I think that's the worst thing in the world most of the time. Like that's just lazy writing. But no, I mean Captain America works. It's fine. It's just when I say like least favorite, I love the movie. I could sit there any day of the week watching the movie because it's Marvel and it's got one of the best casts for like the older Marvel movies and and most of them are surprisingly reprising their roles for this episode except for two people. Tommy Lee Jones and well, three people, and Chris Evans and Hugo Weaving. But Hugo Weaving doesn't matter because Ross Marquand, who played Red Skull in Infinity War and Endgame, nails the Hugo Weaving impression so well that you don't even
Is
need
that
to.
who the voice was for What If as
Hmm.
well? That's
Hmm.
cool.
So but that everybody else is back. Even Stanley Tucci, who it plays Doctor Erskine, we're talking about, he has like two lines and they got this Academy Award winning actor to come to a show to deliver two lines, but they couldn't get Chris Evans to come do it. What a shame. You know, why it makes me have beef like with Scarlett Johansson suing Disney and Chris Evans, not being able to sit in a room in front of a microphone for an hour because he had an hour's worth of lines. He could have delivered, less than an hour. Like he could have probably delivered his like five different takes of every line in less than an hour. You know, I don't know why I couldn't just get him in there and do that.
Maybe there were scheduling issues. Maybe there was something else going on that they couldn't heck pull him.
Wow, he must be really busy. They ain't got an hour out of his day in
We don't know what's
a
going
year
on.
long production.
We can't be mad at somebody for just not showing up to recording
I'm
lines
not
for a
mad at
TV
him. I'm
show.
disappointed. I don't understand how they could get all these other high caliber actors, but not like the Avenger in the show. But at the same time, it's not a big deal. It's just one of those
The voice
things.
actor didn't do a bad job of making me disbelieve that that was the MCU's Steve
Yeah, he
Rogers, though.
sounded much better. I think his name is Josh Trent something. I don't know. He sounded much better than the preview where we saw the guy doing Tony Stark, who just sounds awful. Oh, but okay. So right from the beginning, we get the Marvel logo once again, but then at the end, it transitions to animation, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. Did
I
that?
like it a lot.
What did that do for you? You liked it?
Well, I mean, I only have three sections for us to talk about today, and one of them is going to be about the animation and voice acting, which we're kind of
Okay.
dabbling on now. Kind of want to save that for there because, like, I was I was stunned. I kept looking at Carlo while because we were out of town and we were in the hotel and we were watching it laying down in the hotel room, and I kept looking at him like, this is crazy. Like, this is so good. I was so stunned.
I think it's like um well, first off, the first episode as a whole is almost exactly as I expected. There's literally it is absolutely what I thought it was going to be. It's not better or worse. It is a little bit better because of something that happened that if I had been paying more attention to the trailers as Mr. Wasp Jake had told me, I would have noticed, but I didn't because I wasn't, so it was a surprise. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I think the animation. So we're talking about animation now, right?
I mean, we can jump ahead before we. I mean, if you want to
What do
jump
you
ahead and talk about
what's first on the agenda?
thoughts on the episode, just in general, just talking about
Okay,
the episode.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I kind of had on the
yeah,
agenda.
okay. So I'll talk about the thing. So with me, um, I sat there, I first off the intro video with Jeffrey Wright playing the Watcher, perfectly cast, and just talking about join me he says that this as we explore these new realities, new as in confirmation that this is a direct result. Spoilers from the end of Loki. Um, and I really like that. I like how the 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 theming of that intro matches the style at the end of Loki. It's this. I love Marvel so much how they have it, this consistent vision across the
I
board.
do want to say that I'm super happy that this is confirmed to be canon within the MCU universe, not just like a Star Wars Visions segment where it's just a bunch of different stories just for the heck of it. Because that's what If was in the comic books and like the stories. What Ifs were just like that. That's exactly what it was a what if, like
Hmm.
in different multiverses, but they were never part of the canonical story of what everyone was reading at the time. Whereas this stuff, even though it's taking the title of What If, it's still canon within the canonical story of what the MCU and Kevin Feige and everyone over at Marvel Studios is trying to tell for a story.
Is this still the MCU or is it the MCM?
I like that
Marvel Cinematic Multiverse.
multiverse. I wonder if we can get that to catch on.
No, I stole it from Kind of Funny. They beat us to it,
Awesome. Dang
um,
it.
but it's true. Like it's not like anybody could come up with it because that's what it is. That's what's going on right now. We have a multiverse, and that's what's said. But so like what I was saying before, how it was exactly how I expected it to be. It is the start, the beginning, middle, and end of this episode is just the same story we've already seen in the Captain America First Avenger, which again, not my favorite Marvel movie. So
I like a good
and
period piece though, so I enjoyed it a little bit more, I
right,
guess.
right. I Luke is very selective on his period pieces, though I would say.
I am.
So at this point, it's like we're getting about 15 minutes, I think, into it, and I'm like, yeah, like I know she's gonna become Captain Carter. I know she's gonna be in the thing.
What's up here
I
for a moment?
know.
Haven't heard from you guys in a while. See
Hey,
you're in the comments. What's up, guys?
good morning. If
Really
it's
enjoyed it, but the
morning where
best
you
part
are,
was my kids were like, "What the heck is going on?" Mind blown. Yeah, for someone who doesn't know, I guess multiversal theories, multiversal actions, different versions of a character, or if you didn't watch Loki before that, because you could arguably, even though this is a little harder to understand for just your casual viewer, Marvel's doing a really good job at making the multiverse like accessible for the casual viewer because of how they let it up with the other shows so far. Whereas like
it,
if you told me back when I was in the early 2000s when I was like reading books from like the 90s and 80s as a kid and I was eating it up and understood it, where if I would walk up to like someone on the street and be like, "Yo, did you know that Spider-Man has four eyes and like eight arms in another universe?" They'll be looking at me like, "What are you talking about? Spider-Man just has two arms, a red suit, and like shoots webs from his old web spinners. Like, what are you talking about? You're crazy." But nowadays, you could easily have it accessible, and I like that.
well, what's crazy to me is we talk about multiverse. If there is an infinite number of multiverse or universes, if that theory that physicists have thought up and discussed, if that is true, then not only is what if canon, but all the Marvel stuff is actually happening in another universe. Like there's an actual thing that's going on.
I
To an
mean,
extent. To an extent.
one of the teasers is the Marvel Zombies.
I know. I'm just saying.
I don't know what's gonna entail with Marvel Zombies in this show, but like, I never thought I would see Marvel Zombies animated
Mhm.
ever, and that's one of my favorite Marvel stories.
They actually had started an animated Marvel Zombies project years ago. I
I
think
don't know why they stopped.
right after. I think it was like announced right after the first Amazing Spider-Man, but the people behind it, I can't remember. This is vague. This is going off the top of my head, but
I mean, heck, Robert Kirkman's Invincible got made this year, and Robert Kirkman is the one who was behind Marvel Zombies. So if we could have Invincible, can we not have Marvel Zombies, the actual animated series or like movie? That'd be so awesome,
Well,
Marvel, please.
it's not. I will say I did find out that Spider Man's Doctor Strange looking outfit in the What If promotional material, his that character is officially called Zombie Hunter Spider Man. So just a cool little thing that I found out. But anyway, back to What If. It wasn't until about 15 minutes where things start to really branch off because for the beginning of it, it's very much rehash of the story you knew. So it'd be really cool for like me to watch this again and you start Captain America First Avenger, but end it right before the scene and then just switch over to this and continue it. Because you can totally do that. But it was right after um Peggy is she's got the shield, she's going after the Tesseract. She gets the Tesseract way earlier than Steve did and gives it to Howard, who is probably the standout of the show. That guy was born to voice act. He did a phenomenal job as Howard
Is
Stark.
that
Like
the
I
same
actually,
voice
yeah,
actor? Is that
yeah,
the same
yeah.
guy from the movies?
Dominic Cooper, yes. Um,
I mean, he
and
sounds and acts like he would be Tony Stark's father, so
he's
it's
so good.
a great casting, even in
Uh,
the live action.
it like what and he made like another tall gag. You know how when Cap comes out of the pod, he's like, they're like, "How do you feel?" He's like, "Taller." Well, he goes to Peggy. He's like, "You won't need those heels anymore, Peggy." It's like, yeah, she's tall. Um, the way she looked was very appropriate. By the way, I love all the big Peggy, small Steve memes that are going around the internet. They're hilarious. But it was right after they got the Tesseract, and he looks over at Steve and says, "You want to join the war effort, Steve?" And then right after that, we get this pretty cool, action sequence with Peggy, and when she's breaking out the Howling Commandos. If you don't remember who that is, it's Dum Dum Dugan, Bucky Barnes, and everybody else whose names I forget because they're not that big of a deal. And freaking
Logan is part of the Howling Commandos, but
not
we
in the
don't see
movie.
him.
Yeah.
I know. But fun
Um,
fact: Wolverine is part of the Howling Commandos.
and right across the sky, the Mark One with some, a little bit bigger.
That
The
looked more like the
Ironmonger.
Ironmonger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
looks
Okay.
more
Cool.
like the
I'm glad we're on the
Ironmonger.
same
So
page.
he flies over, and I'm like, what? How did they make the Iron Man suit? And then you're like, oh yeah, he had the Tesseract. And this is a different thing because like up until that point, it was the same story that we've already seen. So it was interesting, but not very entertaining because it's like, oh,
Well,
we've
yeah,
seen
because
this
the
just
first suit
Peggy.
was made with the arc reactor, so you can't have the arc reactor. So instead of having the arc reactor, you have
Yeah,
a bigger power battery, basically, in the Tesseract.
yeah, the
That's
Tesseract's
why
way more powerful than the Arc Reactor. Way more powerful.
100%.
So, yeah, and by the time we get to the ending, the first time I saw it, because I saw it again last night for my refresh, because it's short, you can get through it. I was stoked when in the final battle where they had to completely do other things because the Hydra people didn't have the Tesseract at this point, so they couldn't make all the weapons. So to
So they
provide,
summoned an
yeah,
Eldritch Terror.
yeah, which was cool because Hydra, it was like you were fighting the Hydra mascot in a sense. Which
You know what's
uh,
crazy is did you have you saw the original Ron Perlman Hellboy movies, correct?
the first one,
Okay, you saw the first one. All right. So that is also like loosely based off of the actual comic book. So like the Jormungandr at the end coming down and like out of the sky, basically being summoned by Rasputin, the big tentacled beast, basically. Do you not remember that?
it's been those are
Yeah, so it's basically the same concept from there because Rasputin was helping like the Nazis during World War II, trying to summon this big like eldritch terror. dies, and then at the end of the movie, he's using Hellboy as like the key to unlock the Eldritch Terror. It's kind of the same, like kind of the same scenario with like these big tentacle monsters coming out of the sky. I was like, wow, okay. So you took some other property, but you put a spin on it and made it Marvel-fied. And she grabbed the sword like he does in the movie, like Hellboy does in the movie too. So I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
I like
okay.
that too. How it's like Captain Carter. Can I just call her Captain Britain? That's who she is. Like that's
No,
what
because there is a Captain Britain,
I know, but she's got a British flag, and this is a different. It's like
Captain
Spider-Man
Carter. We
Miles
will call her
Morales.
Captain Carter.
That's like calling Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I guess we do
Well,
already. So
no. Now we're gonna have little kids calling him Spin because of the new animated TV show.
interesting. I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about that right now though, because we keep getting off track. I did like that she had the sword and shield. I was like, this is cool
it's
because
different because
in the
Cap would have had just the shield 90% of the
yeah,
time, or use a gun. But she also used the gun too. But
oh,
hammer.
it's
He has the hammer.
eventually use the hammer. But it's just it's one of those things where this looks like a universe where the joke is always made when the Avengers are together and Rhodey pops up with his Iron Man suit, his War Machine suit, I should say, and the question is asked like, why don't you give Black Widow a suit? Why don't you give Hawkeye a suit? Why don't you give Steve a suit? Like, what's up with that? Whereas this universe looks like Peggy's like, I have the shield, but there's a sword here. I'm gonna use a sword too because that's more effective or whatever. Um,
Yeah, the animation
okay,
is amazing here for a moment. Like
Lucas was
that's
holding us off with animation talk. We can get into that. You ready, or do you want? What do you think, Lucas?
thoughts on the episode for
Yeah,
me. I mean, I can run through quick. The choreographed fight scenes amazing. I thought they did a really good job on that. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of animation talk though, but that's more we can talk more and more about it in a second. The animation looks like a comic book panel. I love it. The voice acting great. The story it was telling, like Justin said, was basically verbatim Captain America: First Avenger, and I do like that movie, so that's why I like this episode. I thought I wouldn't like Peggy Carter in the role as much as I did. She kind of reminds me of Wonder Woman a little
she
bit.
reminds me more of Ray from Star Wars in the
I
first
no,
movie. In the
I
first
hate
movie,
Ray, so
I'll
no, she didn't
explain.
remind me of Ray.
You want me to explain, or you want to continue? Because I don't.
No, you can explain. Go for it.
Ray in the first movie is like, I didn't know I could fly a ship. This is great. I didn't know I could beat him up. This is great. I've never done this before. And then Peggy the whole time is like, did you see that? I just took that guy down. It's like she's really, and I'm not. This is not a bad thing. I like Ray in Force Awakens just fine. Peggy, because we know the story going into this episode, how like we know that Peggy has earned her character at this point, and I think she, deserves to have those moments where she's like, "Oh, look at this! I can't believe I just knocked this guy out with his," you know. So, that's why she reminds me of Ray. Continue, Lucas.
And then the other thing I like is like, so we talked about how Steve is a good man or a good soldier. Steve is a good man, not a good soldier, because he wasn't trained to be a soldier. Whereas Peggy is a good soldier. So that's the way that she makes the decisions that she makes. We don't see like the good woman aspect because she starts Shield in the main continuity. So whereas now we don't know who's going to start Shield, maybe we know Howard's going to be involved, of course, probably, but like we don't know who else is going to be like
Do they even
the
need
starter
Shield?
Shield.
Because it looks like they just got rid of Hydra. Shield was a response to Hydra. They're gone.
Well, Nick
Hydra's
Fury's at
toast.
the end. Well, but I mean,
Oh
Nick
yeah,
Fury's
yeah.
at the end of the episode,
True,
so
true.
that means Shield is there. But Peggy Carter was the start of Shield.
Yeah.
So with Howard,
Steve.
you think Steve's going to be like the old director,
Steve
Steve?
started Shield. Yeah,
Okay, I mean, I can
was
see it. I can see it.
him and Howard. Just like anyway.
But yeah,
Oh,
so I like that she makes good decisions, but she's making good decisions as a soldier or someone with training or somebody who has like military background would make. Whereas Steve just did everything with his heart. Like that's why he made the choices he makes, and that's why they made choices he made in the first Avenger movie as well. Like strategically going after the commandos the way he did would a a normal soldier would not do. Now Peggy knew she was a soldier and she made the choices herself. That's why she knew what she could do. Does that make sense? Where Steve was just doing it because he was a good man, and you could see that through like his movements and how he was acting. Peggy did things more strategically and had a better plan because they showed her actually planning what she was doing. Where with Steve, he wasn't making the plans in the movie. Someone else was making the plans for him, like Tommy Lee Jones's character, and Peggy was making the plans.
And
He was just kind of like the attack dog. He was like, "Hey, go." Where she was like, "I am the attack dog and the strategist. I am judge, jury, and executioner."
she was a lot more direct and to the point, and let's get this done. And that's the thing that since we're still talking about odd thoughts on the episode, the one thing I said, the predictability, and this show is so fast paced that there's, like I said, they've earned all of their character moments from the first movie already, so we don't necessarily need them. But because it's so fast paced and predictable, whenever something cool happens, it's on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. You don't get time to sit with the characters, even when Peggy and Steve are flirting and having their romantic overtures at like a dinner table that's like less than a minute, and then it's on to the next scene. And in an ideal world, you would want this a little bit longer. I know Lucas is probably gonna be like, "Oh, I like that it's fast paced."
I'm about to say, yeah, I liked it. It was really
But
fast paced, and
but
we knew all the
it
notes already. So
yeah, but like at the same time, if there's no stakes to this because you pretty much know how this particular episode is going to turn out. So there's never a moment where I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen next. And I hope that these characters are okay because they are. They're all going to be okay.
well, I didn't expect. So the reversal where Bucky falls off the train during the heist,
Yeah,
essentially,
best joke in the whole thing.
and instead it's Steve who like gets lost in the Ironmonger suit. I didn't expect Steve to come back until they
Yeah,
showed the
but it
Tesseract
was
in his hand, or at least
right. And so
I thought they would. Steve was going to be dead
if it
in
was
this
slower
universe.
paced, you would have been able to wonder a little bit more and the tension would have been built up. But no, it's immediately addressed like within 3 minutes that yeah, he's fine.
I mean,
They're just gonna go get
I
him like
understand though. I understand coming where you're coming from because I know the way you like storytelling. But for me, as someone who wants to watch a TV show, basically recapping an already established universe or an already established like continuity, I'd like it to be fast paced, get to the point, and get to the end to where we're. I'm assuming they're gonna where they're touching on all these episodes. So like when we get to the T'Challa as Star Lord, we're just gonna get a quick recap of Guardians of the Galaxy with him instead, and then a couple of these other notes from these other like movies that they're tackling. And I hope the last couple episodes is like the culmination of this universe that they've built with the what ifs real quick, telling us all these notes and giving us like the bigger story at the end. Because
no,
like
I agree 100% with it. I think the way they're doing it works perfectly
yeah.
for what if, but it does make it to where when I sit down to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier or Loki or watch a Marvel movie, I'm much more invested in those movies because there's unpredictability and stakes. And while I don't really want What If to be different, I will say because I really enjoyed the episode, I like this. I'm excited for more, but the fast pacing does make it a little less investable. It's kind of like just a fun Saturday morning cartoon, and I like that, but it's not going to be like, oh my god, Loki just cracked open the multiverse and we have to see what happened next. No, this is just like, oh, okay, what if Captain Heart? It's
the
exactly what it needs to be.
the best. So you dropped Saturday morning cartoons, right? The best Saturday morning cartoons that they ever made were ones that had most of the majority episode. They paid most of their budget on the action scenes, and we can tell that from this episode that they put probably a bunch of their money into the animation of the action scenes from the way they were choreographed. And then the other part is continuation. So like episodical or non-serial, whatever, television cartoon series in the Saturday morning like blocks, episodical ones never really did the best unless it had like a couple story arcs later on down the road, whereas this one is going to have a full story arc the whole way through, and that's what's going to help it, I think, elevate the fast pacedness of
So
it.
you don't think it's going to be I know Captain Carter's showing up again, but you don't think it's going to be an anthology?
I don't think it's an anthology.
Oh,
No.
you just mean in the sense that it's all connected.
Yeah, so I think
No, because it's not
this is a
the way
different
you're.
time. I'm hoping the way this is conveyed to me is like this is just another branch timeline. So all the things that are happening in this timeline are just different variations. I hope it's not just a bunch of different timelines.
It is
Because I want them to. I want to revisit the Hawkeye and Nick Fury seeing Captain Carter
no,
at
we're
the
getting
end.
her. We're getting her again, but no, this is all. These are different universes. I know that. And but it's in the sense that it's anthological. I don't know if that's even a word, but
I
we
don't think it
use
is.
it.
I don't know.
And it's an anthology. Anything with ology can be changed to ickle in my mind. So it's we're not continuing. The next episode isn't going to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed, it's not going to pick up right from where Captain
No,
Marvel.
is the next
But so
episode is probably going to
we're
be the
getting
Star
different
Lord one.
characters.
I think.
Yeah.
I
So
would be willing to bet because that's the
the
next one. I think.
I believe I've
Or
read that they're doing it in what you call it, chronological order. So yes, up next is T'Challa becoming Star Lord, and it'll come out in
or
like
would it be
what
Tony and
time of
Killmonger
year?
meeting?
No, because Star Lord happened in the '80s, Killmonger happened in 2008, or Iron Man happened in 2008.
True.
So yeah, no, we're
I
getting
saw I saw
Captain Marvel is in the '90s too, so we'll have something with her, I think.
I saw a leak or something that one of the what ifs is like what if Tony Stark died.
Mm,
And there was like an image of like a couple people around Tony Stark's body, like how he was when he was eating the donut or whatever on the donut thing, but he was like on the ground with like his mask off and everything, dead.
I think we
I
already
don't
know
know if
what
that's
would happen.
confirmation or not, but
We already know what would happen if Tony Stark died. Jake Gyllenhaal would show up as Mysterio and mess stuff up for Spider-Man. That's
oh my
we've
god.
seen that already. That's what happened when Tony died. Uh, okay, so I'm bursting at the seams here. We've already talked about our thoughts. We really talked about the story. So um, there's a couple more story things I'll touch on dynamically, but I do want to say, all right, animation. I know Lucas is going to go ham on how much he likes it
Oh
because
yes, I
he
am.
already has. I'm trying not to be the big fan. I'm trying to like dial it back and like have at least a few critiques because it's good. I like it. But it's very inconsistent in parts
The
where
frame
I,
rates are weird to me on some areas.
mhm. But like the tentacles on the um Hydra monster look really bad. They move great. They move fantastic. Like the way that they're animated to move and grab things looks great. But when you get up close to them, it looks very much a lot less. It's not that this is a bad thing, but it's an inconsistency of style when you have the greatly detailed suits of armor and the shield and the motorcycles and the iron Hydra Stomper suit looks so detailed, and then you get to the tentacle monster, and it's one texture with some shapes that I could probably make in Photoshop in a day, and I don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It looked like Borderlands, like they were
cell
trying to
shading.
save some RAM.
It looked like cell shading.
And it was just it was jarring after it. Not the first time I saw it, but the second time I watched the episode, I noticed it a bit more because I knew it was coming, and it was very like, ooh, that looks rough. And in comparison to the other great wall, only because everything else looks so much better. There's
There
also, I
was
think, go ahead, your turn.
there was a couple frame rate issues I had, but granted, it's if you want to talk about critiquing it, I
Yeah,
also can see it too. It's like so, like I said, I think they dumped all their money into like the big action set pieces
yeah,
for this and like the designing of like the costumes and the Hydra Stomper and like the vehicles and like the machinery and stuff that looked all amazing. But there was just some like scenes where they were just talking, like even though they were fast scenes, I could tell from like movements of heads and stuff like you would want a fluid like churn of a head, right? Whereas like it was like boom boom, like the
the
frame
frames
rate,
were
yeah,
smaller when they,
yeah.
and
Same
it's
with the
like
mouth
a
movements too. Sometimes it looked like you were watching a dubbed over um anime, whereas like the mouth didn't exactly move to the words. And it's not a big throwback, or not, sorry, throwback's the wrong word. Why did I say that? It's not a big drawback of watching it. It's just, like you said, it's the critique where critique is
Mhm.
due.
Well, like,
So
everything can get better. There's nothing is perfect. Everything can get better. I hope this does get better because it's already at a really good high level. It's high caliber. But it did feel when you're talking about frame rates. I'm thinking now the action scenes felt like they were 120 frames per
mhm.
second. You're getting all this just great treatment to great visuals, but then you get to when they're talking, it feels like it's less than 24 frames, like as an actual film. So I see that, but also inconsistency across the board, and that's what we're talking about. It's not a whole. The quality is not the same throughout. Like there's moments when Peggy, her expressions on her face look great. There's moments where, like, when she first starts reacting to how excited she is using her powers, she's like, "Yeah," but the only difference in her face is her eyebrows are raised. I might get okay. Um, testing, testing. Good. So I guess I gotta get closer to the mic, guys. Um, but there's just so little. There's not as many points of muscular movement on her face in points, and then other points they are there. But and then other characters have like
More
varying
than
degrees.
others.
Yeah, like Howard, I think has the best facial animation throughout the whole episode, as well as uh, the Red Skull.
Mhm.
Not when he's Red Skull, but when he's I guess both. They both look fine. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I didn't really pay attention to the muscular like animations on the face, but now that thinking about it, yeah, Howard had a pretty good one. Peggy was just stoic. That's the way I saw
Yeah,
it. Like they wanted to just keep her as like the stoic, like do get the business done type of person where you don't show too many emotions.
I just
I don't
I
know if
feel
that
like
was
that
the
does
choice, but like, why would you? But you got to think
no,
about it that
that's
way too. Like,
definitely not the choice.
why would you animate two other characters better for facial features than like the main character for the
um,
episode?
I'm curious to watch the behind the scenes because it it looks like with Howard they used his body language and his facial structure as a point of reference for the animated character, whereas Peggy, Haley Atwell might not have been able to record in the same kind of
Oh, so you
fashion.
mean like mocapped it kind of?
Yeah, so she might have like how Dominic Cooper might have sat in front of a camera, like three different cameras, like getting some like feedback on his face, whereas Haley might have just been in a booth recording. We don't really know how the
You know what
pandemic
this
affected
show's
the show.
animation reminds me of? Do you remember the Neil Patrick Harris Spider Man show that came out for MTV?
We're going there again. I can't remember. You brought it up. I can't remember what review you were talking about. The animation style reminded you of, but
Yeah, but this heavily reminds me of that animation style. And there was also an Iron Man animated TV show that came out that had this like it's cell shaded, it's 3D animation, but like at the same time, it looks like it could come off from a comic book page,
um,
and that's what I like about it a lot.
I see where you're going, but this only in the faces. Everything else is not even close to that Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man, they had
Oh no, because
colors.
that's I mean I'm not saying it's the same because of the technology is different for sure. So it looks better, but like
Yeah.
it's just that like 3D animated well I mean when that Spider-Man show came out, that was good animation for a TV show.
Hmm.
That was good animation for a TV show. Like look at Reboot and look at Beast Wars and all these other like 3D animated shows that were out around that time. I mean, that Spider-Man show definitely came out a couple of years later, but like think of all the shows that came out and the movies that came out with like the 3D animation around that time. That was good. That was good.
Different uses of budget. But yeah, so yeah. The other thing, animation we've talked about to an extent, but like not just that. This show has cinematographical. That's a word. I looked it up. It's actually a word. um, Staging. Obviously, you're not using a camera, but you use the virtual camera and how you frame a scene and how you stage everything. And I, my jaw was hanging open when there's a scene when they're assaulting the castle towards the end, and the virtual camera starts at Peggy while she's doing something, zooms out, and then Bucky is shooting a guy, zooms out even further, and they're all lining up in the depth. And then Dum Dum Dugan is doing something, and then it turns around, and you see the results of what they just did zoomed in, and the expressions on the Hydra agents are really good. And then the camera swirls back around to where you see Peggy continuing her action, and then it follows her. And I was just like, wow, that is some of the best shot. Like, just the idea of that being staged, that is one of the coolest shots I've ever seen. And like, it would be cool if you could do that in live action, but I don't know if you could easily do that. And that's what
That's
the
why I
animation
like
gives it the ability.
animation
It's
more
freeing, yeah. But
because you can do
because
so much more.
I like, and that's kind of like we're like foils in this, Lucas and I, because to me the aspect of pulling something close to that off in real life is more thrilling to me, because it's like, wow, they actually, like, if we're talking about like Tenet, they actually crashed a plane into a museum. It's like all these different things that they figured out how to pull off in real life. So
Whereas me, who
yeah.
looks at like the Star Wars, my Clone Wars micro series, and all the crazy things they did in that animated 2 hour short,
uh,
and I was like, why can I not have this in live action? And that's why I love it so much.
well, with me, it's like the suspension of disbelief, because one of the problems I have with Peggy is like, again, it works because this is, like I said, this is a Saturday morning cartoon. There's a lot more suspension of belief there than there would be if you're watching a live action movie. But Steve, when he's on the motorcycle in the movie, he kind of hops off, he goes up a ramp, and it does some damage. Peggy, no ramp, rides up with his motorcycle, pops a wheelie, and tosses that sucker in the air about 50 feet, knocking out a tower. And I'm like, Okay, that you can't do that.
I
You
love it
can't do
though.
that. Steve couldn't do that, but I guess
I
because
love
Steve
it.
was too skinny when he was not Captain America. I don't know. I don't know. I Again, I'm totally fine with it because this is animated. We don't need
So
the anchors in on the
how
realism.
so you said you liked how her body structure went from like, normal human being to like
She is
Amazonian warrior.
bigger. She is bigger than how I picture Steve Rogers being when he's Captain America.
Well,
She is
yeah, well, in
big.
our mind of perception, right? When we see a stereotypical female, like we'll see them,
I know
we
what
will
you're
see
saying,
the
but
body
she is
structure is
still
smaller, but like she looks like she would be Wonder Woman. That's the body type I think for Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman is a lot more slender. In like, are you talking
Well,
about? Oh, you're talking about your ideal personification.
yeah. So
Okay,
like,
okay.
if I think Wonder Woman from the comics is built like a brick
Mhm.
house, right? And then Gal Gadot, like one of the issues with Gal Gadot when they brought her on as Wonder Woman was like people didn't think she was like built for the role of Wonder Woman. Like she wasn't like, bulky enough, she wasn't like muscular enough, she wasn't fit enough, where she was like, she was fit but she was more slender. I love that they went the route of like bulky, like built like a brick house for Peggy Carter, and not the
But
aspect of
still,
like just a thinner build, but you could see more muscle definition.
very different body structure than a lot of the UFC fighters. Though this feels more superhero built
Mm-hmm.
than
It
a
does.
what's her name from Mandalorian?
Gino something, right?
Carano, Gina Carano. Yeah, Gina
Yeah.
Carano. She's got this stocky build, whereas Peggy is like, no, this is a towering giant
She
that's
looks like an
exceptionally,
Amazon.
yeah.
She
So
looks like an Amazon. She looks like she
so
should be on the mascara
interesting.
throwing around a mother box.
I'm less like before this. We were talking about like we're going to see Captain Carter. it just because Haley Atwell's in Doctor Strange 2 doesn't mean we're gonna see Captain Carter, because in my mind, I'm like, "How are they gonna translate? Are they gonna use a body double for her when she's playing the role in live action?" Because there's no you know, she first off, um, in the first Captain America movie, Steve has a body double for his skinny, short self, and
Hmm.
it's Chris Evans' head on top of that body, and then Chris Evans' actual body that he bulked up and built for the role, whereas
Yeah.
Haley Atwell is her character she's playing on her actual body as Peggy Carter, and then that version of her is the one that gets into the pod. So if we're going to see the live action Peggy Carter, Captain Carter, she first off she's got to be taller and she's got to be more muscular. So we would presumably have to have a body double unless they give her some kind of like giant heels. You're muted.
Look what we did with not what we did, but look what Peter Jackson did with Frodo and the other characters that played the hobbits.
Well, they've also
They
done
did
it
a lot. They could do you could do a lot of camera angling to make someone look taller without
right, and
adding anything to them.
they did
And she
Professor
could
Hulk.
bulk up for it. Yeah, exactly. They could
They can do
bulk up.
CGI.
I wouldn't want to exactly like too much CGI to where it's unnatural looking. But if she kept her costume on the whole time and we never had her take off her costume, then it'd be a lot more easier to like make the facade of her being, the body type of what they're showing in the what ifs.
I mean I have faith that they can do something with it.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
just
we can de-age people to where it looks like we're watching a 20, 30-year old younger version of a character now.
unless it's Luke Skywalker and they can't do it better than the deep fake guy they just hired.
Or
And
just
he
hire
looks
Sebastian
terrible.
Stan to play young Luke.
Why won't they do that? Is he like he wants it? Mark
I
Hamill
don't know.
done come out and said I pick him. I he's like Sebastian, I choose you, and he like throws the post. Anyway, um,
Question for you now that we're on topic, we're still on the topic animation, but this is going to direct, like, do a little detour into DC.
I am out
So,
of coffee.
so you like this, and it's continuing the story of Marvel and like building on Marvel. So,
Mhm.
what if Warner Brothers went the route with this type of
He said it,
animation?
folks. He said, "What if?" He said it.
What if Warner Brothers went this route with this kind of animation and continued Zack Snyder's story
Yeah. If yeah, of course.
instead of having the live action?
I mean, it
Would
would
you
piss me
be?
off.
I mean, it would. I know it would make you mad, but I feel if they went this route, like this kind of route, to continue, Zack Snyder's story, if they don't want to give us a live action, but even though everyone in the under the sun is clamoring for this live action now, we have actors, we have we have directors, we have screenwriters, we have a soundboard director, like we have everybody clamoring for Warner Brothers to do the right thing and let this be continued. But if they don't and they give us an animated instead, I think going this route with this style animation, I think would be really good.
I don't trust Warner Brothers to have the talent necessary to pull off
Oh, I don't
something
either.
at the same quality as this is. And especially they haven't tried this type of animation before, and Warner Brothers is very dumb. They usually have this steep learning curve unless they really keep following with the trend that they've started, where they're like, here's a talent, you have full control, do something. But they just I don't know. Warner
If
Brothers
they
made
brought
my
in,
favorite
if
movie
they,
of all time. They've been responsible for some of my other favorite movies. But they've also made some very disappointing things that could have been up here, but we'll
if they
always have to
brought
put
back
over
Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and had
here.
them animate a series or a movie for Zack Snyder's continuation, that's where their money would be.
uh, I mean, I would rather see the live action.
I mean, I would
Zack
too,
Snyder,
but
Zack Snyder, he has done one animated movie, The Legends of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. That looked great, but it's old, and he just after seeing Army of the Dead this year, when you give him complete control over a project. You see what kind of cinematography he can do, what kind of shots he can get, what kind of project he can dump out onto our lap within a year's time because this movie was made very quickly. It's like Zack Snyder's really good at what he does if you let him do it. And yes, of course, I don't need the 3D animated style to continue the story. Like they could give me a 2D, I would continue it. But can we just have the live action, please? Why is that so much to ask for, Warner
I
Brothers?
mean, I like I said, I agree with you, but you also just made the statement about I don't know if they could pull off this kind of scene in live action. There's a lot of scenes that I would like to see done in a Justice League movie
Justice
that
League
you
is
could
so
from.
CGI that they basically do animated stuff. Like they don't try to make it look as realistic as
There's still some
a
things that you
Marvel
could do
movie.
completely only in animation only. There's still some things.
I don't know. I'd rather see after as soon as I saw Man of Steel and that ending Superman fight, screw animation. I'm sorry, but like screw any of that. That was perfect. That's exactly what you want. Unless you're one of those, they're gonna hurt people. Oh, they're gonna destroy the city. We're talking about two gods flying around an entire planet, causing destruction and mayhem, and Superman trying to stop them. And that's exactly how it would look. And the camera shots, the staging, everything looked good. That was done without need. There's not much more you could have done in animation that would have made it better, in my honest opinion. Lucas disagrees, but if and especially with the nightmare scene with all the parademons flying around, um, it's there's a lot more. Like Zack Snyder basically proves that you don't need like if you're willing to sacrifice realism in a live action movie and just go full on CG, you can do pretty much whatever you want. And Zack Snyder usually does the best job of that with some of his characters not always looking the best. But I know you're a big fan of Steppenwolf, but I think he looks pretty. Yeah,
I was a big fan of this version of Steppenwolf. But
he looks
anyways, okay.
better.
So sorry I took this conversation into a DC conversation, but it just made me think about
I think Disney
what you
Grizzly is
could
the wrong
consider
name for Lucas. I think we should call him the DC species or something. I don't
DC species. There we go.
know.
Yeah, I know. I like a lot. I
Well,
really like Disney, but DC has got my heart. Anyways, so pretty much wrapping up on this topic though, like animation was flawless to me, except for a couple frame rates. And then Justin had his critiques as well. And then this was my last thing I wanted to talk about, Justin. What do you still want from this series? Like what do you want to see?
Marvel Zombies.
Well, we know that it's coming.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
But like what do you want for this to do? I guess my question is what do you want this to do for the MCU landscape? Because we know this is going to change
I
the landscape.
this might come off come out the wrong way, but like honestly, I could care less. Like to an extent, I'm excited for all of it, but like I don't care what like this is all just fun side stories that are gonna give me something to munch on while I wait for Hawkeye and this Marvel and Shang Chi and Spider Man. I mean, all Eternals. Like that's what I'm concerned about. This is just like okay, cool. Hopefully they'll do something with this. But I'm for what I already know, I'm getting more Doctor Strange, and any Doctor Strange for me is a win. He's my favorite. But I do want. Here's what I don't want. I don't want constant retellings of predictable stories. Um, I like the idea that we're going to start off where the Watcher's like, here it is. This is the choice that changed, that split this multiverse into a new universe. But I don't want it to be a one to one redo of the same movie each time. I want some of them to be like completely different things. Um, to where like
Well, that's what looks like it's going to be when Killmonger saves Tony.
yeah, I was gonna
Because
say that.
those two characters aren't even completely involved, and it
Yes.
looks like he's going to use Stark technology to like attack Wakanda.
And
So
sadly, I'm not excited for that at all because the actor of Tony just sounds so bad. It's like hopefully we won't have a lot of them.
I'm not excited for. I mean, the thing I'm excited for that aspect is like, say, I don't think Killmonger. If Killmonger doesn't die, in that new timeline, then that's how they're bringing Killmonger back for Black Panther 2. And that's who's going to become Black Panther in the main continuity is Michael B. Jordan.
And if anybody's still here, please leave a like on the video, and it really helps us out. So, what do you want?
I want them to help close some plot holes that the MCU has by fixing some of the things with this series. I
Any
feel like
specific?
like what I just said. Since Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, Chadwick. Like we don't have anything moving forward for Black Panther, and I feel like this series is definitely a way to introduce someone, Michael B. Jordan, into the role of Black Panther. He was already a good version, like he was close to being a Black Panther within the actual movie. Killmonger was because he already had a suit. He had really good like training. He already took the power of the Panther as well. So like it's a good character to like take over the mantle. I know everyone was wanting Shuri. I think Shuri would be a good idea, or they had Bucky take over the mantle as White Wolf. But I think the
No, they're
safest
not going to
route
have Bucky take over the mantle. That would be horrible.
it it'd be bad, but
No, they're never.
continuity, keeping it with comic books, Bucky did take the place of Black Panther, the Guardian of Wakanda, for a little bit as the White Wolf.
Okay.
But I feel the safest route, which is what Marvel's been doing so far, would be Michael B. Jordan coming back to reprise the role of Killmonger and becoming the new Black Panther to take over for Chadwick's legacy. And I feel like using the what if storyline would be a really good way of doing that.
My lack of faith in that happening is completely gone because after seeing WandaVision, after seeing Loki, I mean, these Marvel Studios is now comfortable with taking big risks that they're relying on their fan base that's massive and the general audience to just keep.
So you think they're gonna let? Do you think Shuri's gonna take over the mantle then? Because that's what a lot of people
No,
are
no, no.
asking
I'm
for.
talking about like I wouldn't be surprised if this Killmonger and
Yeah.
takes over because they've proven that they're willing to do whatever. Like they're not like worried about the audience getting confused. Like they're like, no, keep up. They're basically like after the end of Black Widow, spoilers for Black Widow, where Yelena finally I was like told, okay, the shows are going to directly impact in big ways the movies. I'm like, yeah, they're just like keep up. If you can't stay on the ride, don't get on the ride. That's what they're saying basically.
And I like that. And I like that because Marvel's got such a huge fan base now. And you do have your casual viewers who like only a couple Marvel movies. But then again, like once you start liking Marvel, you like Marvel and you want to know the whole story. And it's like,
if
hey, watch my
if
stuff.
you're a normal person.
And then
But,
Disney and Marvel's just like, hey, watch my stuff. Do it.
and I like that in the sense that I hope it doesn't get quantity-itis where so much crap is coming out that it just becomes saturated. Because What If is kind of that for me, where it's just like I didn't need this, but it's fun and I'm having a good time with it. But it's not gonna, I don't wake up in the morning going, oh, I can't wait for the next What If. Like it's very, this is a nice, like I said, appetizer to munch on. But
So this is a promotional art that I have as the background here. And do you see one of the images up there is Gamora and Thanos armor?
yeah, but I'm pretty sure, like in the
Do
trailer.
you think this Gamora that they're showing us within the What If story? Because she's in there. I think she's in there. I think I saw like a thing about the leaked list of episodes, and I think that's one of them. Do you think this is the Gamora that became a variant in the main MCU universe?
Nope,
The main continuity universe?
nope, because she's with the Guardians in New York during the Avengers turnaround scene, which would be 2012. So she would have had to have met Peter back then, or unless they time travel backwards to that, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. No, because like when they do the turnaround, like where it starts as the Avengers and it switches to the Guardians, she's standing there in that armor. So no, I don't
Just
think that's
interesting. I just trying to still like put together. Like to me, one of the plot holes is like, so he who remains, right? He's the one who controlled the sacred timeline for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, et cetera, et cetera.
That's the
Right?
question. Do you think he's going to show up in this What If series?
Who knows? You mean Kang? If
Yeah,
is Kang going to show up? A version of Kang?
One a
Probably,
variant.
probably a variant of Kang. We're going to see a variant of Kang, almost confirmed. I'm saying like 99.9%
I
sure a
want
version of Kang
that.
is going to show up.
I want that.
But so was it his design that version of Gamora still exists?
Yeah.
Like, why would you allow a variant of a character to run around essentially in the main timeline?
Well, it we Loki's ambiguous with first off the TVA exists somewhat outside of time. But well, okay, no, because
See, that's what I'm saying. Is like,
the
I
He
hope
Who
this.
Remains. Hold on, He Who Remains knows million, billion, trillions of years after of story worth after the events of Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home, and everything where the latest in the MCU that we know of. He knows trillions of years into the future after that. So yes, because I was thinking it before I started to like really scratch my brain on it. He didn't have much left to write after she became a variant, but no, he knows. So yeah, that was totally his plan. She's got a purpose. Guardians 3 is probably something that is going to happen that with Kang planned, but like everything that He Who Remains, you know, at
Don't
this
isn't
point, whenever
Guardians
we
3
see,
taking place after the multiverse cracks?
yeah, but like, so here's what I'm thinking. Everything now that we see is not written by Kang. It's potentially interfered with by the multiverse existence because since Kang opened up the multiverse, this is all we've seen. What if Shang-Chi presumably is going to be a prequel or something that is not happening in the
Happens
same.
before the multiverse cracks.
Yes, but that's not known. That could Shang-Chi could be a result of the multiverse cracking. The Eternals, we don't know anything about that. When that is, what they have to do with
I think the
anything.
multiverse becoming a thing is the reason why the Eternals are getting involved now.
Well, I'm assuming that there's a plan for everything, but like like finish my long-winded answer for your question. Yes, Kang did intend for the Gamora in Endgame to exist in the future timeline.
It's just an interesting thought because he was so the TVA was so strict about pruning different variants of characters. Like
That
there's two
was
Neb,
supposed to
like
happen. That was supposed to happen, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, what happened to the whole universe where Loki disappeared from when they went back in time? Because like at that point, did Thor: Dark World not happen? Or was Loki not there to help Thor out with the Dark Elves? Was blah 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 blah
because
blah blah blah. So like we really don't understand what they do with universes when they prune them because it's basically what we saw is that character or person that screwed something up is then just erased. But what happens to the rest of that timeline? I believe it's murdered. I believe the timeline is just completely destroyed based on the
the
sacred
point
timeline being a ring.
basically
Only
destroy
one
everything
timeline.
to the point to where the variants happened.
So
Okay.
sorry, ancient one, when you gave, the Hulk the time stone, you thought you were gonna be okay with your own universe? Nah, too bad. You got screwed. Loki done messed it up for you. So,
Savage.
or I guess Hulk did when he took the stairs. There's like a meme where it's like Hulk takes the stairs, and it's like all that one event happened and that caused all this thing. Anyway,
Yeah. Alrighty then. I think this is time to wrap it
the
up.
last thing, I guess we can. I really don't know if I want to rank the episode, but like
That's what I was gonna ask you. Is like,
the
do you want to rank episodes or do you want to wait for the
well, I
series to
would give this
end?
one
And
like I would give this one like on the Marvel scale low, but like in general high. I'm not gonna give a number though. I don't think it's not really fair. This is a 25-minute, really fast paced redo, alternate take on a movie we've already seen. That is my least favorite Marvel. So it's like, how
One
do I
through
give it
five, I give it a 4.
one through five? He says.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know, because like if I give it a low score, you're gonna think I didn't like it, which is not true.
And if
It's
I give it 1 through 10, I give it like a 7.
like I don't want to give it a 7 and then have the next episode be a 10 and the one after that be a 10 and this one be the only 7 because it's like
I
it's
mean,
hard to guide.
when you say Rotten Tomatoes, right? When they come out with their episode critiques, they always do like rating of every episode. They don't rate a season.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if
I
you
mean,
had to rate the episode, then
in a Marvel sense, this is a 5 out of 10 because this is the very middle of the line. But like in a like in general, this is like a 7 because it's Marvel. It's that good. It's of a good enough
and I
quality to
agree
give
that's
you.
a 7.
Yeah.
So
So
7 for me, whether it be Marvel or not Marvel. If this was just
I'm surprised
if
you're
you
not
if
giving it higher with the animation. Hmm.
uh I still had, like I said, I critiqued the animation some. So there were some little flaws in the
Okay.
animation for me.
I didn't know if I brought that out of you or if it was just like
No, I saw that when I was watching.
okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, because I
Jake,
was like, when they were talking, when they were like talking and stuff, I was just like, why is it
um,
very like static? Not static,
one
but like
more, right, not as dynamically moving.
yeah,
One more point of contention I was going to make is that, and Jake and I talked about this. Jake was saying their body structure, their movements were not handled very well when there wasn't action. So like if Howard was talking to somebody, his lower torso wasn't moving at all. And they also have the same problem a lot of animated things do, which I've already talked about. Is not a big deal to me because it's animation. It's supposed to be different, but they don't feel like they have weight. Like when you can throw
yeah.
a motorcycle 30 feet or 300 feet, whatever it was, into the air,
I feel
and hop around, do flips and rolls like way quicker than you would in live action. Just like in my problem with the Clone Wars, where the Jedi's are jumping like 6,000 miles in the air and swinging their
I mean,
swords.
that's kind of the reason why I said
It's
it
very
feels like that
unrealistic.
early 2000s Neil Patrick Harris Spider-Man cartoon because they felt weightless, but that was also the technology of the
I think it's
time.
just an
So
animation thing that
yeah,
they haven't been able to nail yet. So
I
I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse does the best job with handling weight, but they do that because they slow the frame rate down consistently across the board. But that
mhm.
gives it this mystical sensation. Like I think that's probably the best
But see,
3D
that's
animation.
that I was about to say. So whereas this show didn't use low frame rate to benefit the animation, it was just I could
It
tell
was
they
inconsistent.
yeah.
It was like drops, like when you're
Whereas
playing a video
where
game and like
yeah,
crap's
exactly.
going on. It's like, oh, what is the frame?
Whereas into the Spider Verse, it was deliberate frame
Yeah, I think
rates.
it's 20 frames per second because one of the cool things about the Miles Morales video game is there's actually a suit
Yep.
where you can wear from the Miles Morales game, and it that while the rest of the world is at 60 frames or whatever you're running at, your character when wearing that suit is slowed down to like 20 frames, but it looks cool because of that animation style. And the other thing too is like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has took them years and years of doing. That's why the sequels was started immediately after the first one ended, and we still don't have it because it takes such a long time
Hmm.
to design and render. And because they probably do it with 20 frames a second, that's feasible where you can do 20 frames of animation individually in that time. Whereas this was generated in a computer. This wasn't handcrafted. This was
Yep.
all they built the environments like you would in a video game, and they let the characters 3D models go crazy and very different time frames here. But it's still hopefully one day they'll be able to get closer together in quality.
Exactly.
But I don't know. If we were to rank, I think what we should do is rank each episode in terms of how much we liked it.
Mhm.
I can already tell this is probably going to be bottom tier for me going forward. Not that because not that it had, like, I don't want to be
Oh,
come
if
off
we
as a
just like
sexist.
the episode, I put it like an 8
You know,
then.
like
If I was like ranking it as like as an
no, which
animated.
no, ranking it is in terms of which what if episode is number one. Which episode?
Oh,
So
okay, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
now, this I can tell you, every episode after this would have to be terrible for this to be number one.
Yeah,
So I think this is going to be bottom tier, if not the bottom.
gotcha.
And so I think there's 8 episodes or not. How many? Do you
I
know?
think 8.
I
I
think it's
think
8.
8. I
I'm
think
pretty
it's
sure it's
8.
8. I think next we're getting T'Challa and Black Panther or
Star
Guardians,
Lord.
and yes, and then we're getting Loki, the Loki one, and
Yeah, like Emperor
then
Loki or something like
right,
that.
and then we're getting the Doctor Strange one, then we're getting the Captain Marvel one, then we're getting the Marvel Zombies, and then the Gamora one where she's in the armor, and then I think
And that's
finally we're
Ultron
getting
right there.
Ultron Vision. Yeah, so Ultron Vision.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I believe that's the last one. So
I mean, it would
uh,
make sense. That's a
based on
super strong
what I've
character.
so I don't know if that order is correct, but and I don't think I listed all 8 of them. I probably left some out.
Yeah.
Killmonger.
And Tony Stark.
I think that's before Marvel
Yeah.
or last. I don't know, but that's basically what we have to look forward to.
All righty. So,
Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to all our content, and once again, this has been another Pretentious review from Pretentious
just pop.
Culture.
All
Till
right,
next time,
guys.
guys.
Till next time.